All right, Jamie. Hypothetically, we're in Chicago or you're in Chicago. It's cold, it's windy, you're with your kids. It is also Christmas time, so it's crazy busy and you're trying to see all the sights. Your kids are begging you for an Uber to the next spot. Um, I'm curious, how much are you willing to pay? And does Uber already know that question or that answer?
Okay, first of all, that scenario is terrifyingly realistic, and has happened to me many, many times. You don't want to know the answer, my poor kids. And second, that is exactly what we're going to be unpacking today.
Jamie, I am going to Chicago next week. I'm just saying. So
Yes, yeah, so you're going to experience this exact situation, right? But why this topic? Why are we doing this?
some very good friends of mine, Pamela and her daughter Kelsey, asked me this question. They actually texted it to me because they were in Michael's, the craft store, if I can call it a craft store. And when they were shopping for some crafts, and they pulled up their phone to look to see what was online, and they saw a different price online for the exact same item that they saw in the store. And so what they could do is buy it cheaper online, place the order, and then pick it up from the store later. And they found it really frustrating, and they just wanted to know why. And it took us a while to kind of figure out our way around this, to understand, is it just Michael's? And so we had to dig deeper, and so now we're coming to the topic and bring it to Pamela and Kelsey.
There we go. Yeah, I think it's really fascinating. I mean, we kind of got a hint of it last week as well with
Mhm.
Honey coming in and telling us that she was in Walmart with her phone. So we are
Right.
comparison shopping as we're worried about our budgets and how strained they are. But it's actually just kind of the world we're living in, right? We're talking
Right.
about what is called personalized pricing. There's so many types of pricing out there that I think we need to get some kind of baseline information out
That'd be
first.
great. Yeah.
So let's start with just the market value, right? Market value is the price that people are willing to pay. It's what you would think of when you go to the store and see what is priced for flour or something like that. It's the same price across everybody that's there, because when they go to figure out the pricing, it's done as a full-sized group, right?
Right.
Everybody who's there. We then started, when we got computers, we moved on to dynamic pricing, which is going to be pricing for the same service or good, depending on what time or what location you are doing it from. So we see this a lot. You've heard about it from airlines, for instance,
Right.
or hotels, which is, I hate to tell you this, when we go up to Lambeau to see the Packers, the Motel 6 costs like $500 a night, right?
Right.
But the that's for the days around the Packers. And then if you want to go the next weekend when the Packers are out of town, that same hotel is like $70. Right.
So it's supply and demand in action, right? Which I love, because we run our little trading card business in the basement, and when things are busy for us, we just increase prices, and many fewer people buy. So they only buy what from us if they really, really want the thing, or they can't find it somewhere else, which is awesome because then it's less work. And then when we're more of us around home, we drop the prices, and so I think it's a beautiful thing. The ability to change price and influence how much people buy or who buys, I think, is great. I think one of the questions is starting to come around the concept of personalized pricing. Like, I'm showing you a different price than I'm showing someone else. So because we have all this information about people, companies can now estimate your willingness to pay. And I don't know, the first time I saw this, Jamie, was with an airline. I'm a huge United fan. I did notice, though, I went to look for a ticket for a personal trip, and then went back, and the price kept going up, and I went, "What is happening?" And that was my first experience with. They estimate your willingness. Oh, she's pretty committed. She's not just shopping; she's committed to buying this ticket, and so. That's when I realized, oh goodness, I need to use anonymous browsing when I do these things. But so it has been happening for a while. But personalized pricing is looking at two different people and the same product, and offering them different prices in the moment. And then we start to ask, is that fair? So I think that's kind of what we're going to dig into today. Some examples, other examples we might see are, I know if I go shopping and I put something in my cart, I'll get an email offering me a discount to come back, right? That's dynamic pricing in action. I don't, we might call it personalized pricing as well, because they're offering me the discount. And then when you go to cancel your subscription, I know you've seen this. Wait. We'll drop the price just for you because we like you so much and want you to stay.
Yeah, so it is based off of human behavior, right? So we're
Yeah,
no longer talking about just pricing based off of how much it costs the company to
right.
provide the service or provide the product, right? It's now about how much you're willing to pay. And
Yeah.
that means that there are lots of dynamic factors that are going into that opinion. And because they're collecting it from us, right? Some of the big ones, where do you live? You and I both happen to live in a more affluent than average area, which means if
Mhm.
using our IP address from home, we are going to potentially see a higher price. My husband
Right.
calls our area Richistan. Because there's a 20% Richistan premium on everything you want. If you want your lawn mowed, if you wanted to go out to McDonald's and buy a Coca-Cola, it's 20% higher here than it is 5 miles down the road because you're in Richistan. Um,
Right.
Part of that is true. Now, part of that historically, people have been like, well, it's also because property prices are higher. So the cost of
Mhm.
living is higher. There is some cost of living adjustments that most people are used to. You know
Right.
that you're going to go to, say, even a massive retailer, let's say like a Old Navy, and you're in Beverly Hills, you're likely to pay more for that T-shirt than if you are in, I don't know, Paducah.
But
Uh, yeah.
but here's a fun example I saw as we were doing the research. If we look, we're both, let's say that we want to get that hotel room in Chicago. So we search for it from here. We live in St. Louis. So if we search from it from here, or if one of us happens to be on a VPN to California and the comes from San Francisco, they're going to give us two different prices based
Yeah.
on that search, because big city used to high hotel prices, or you probably make a lot of money, therefore. So I mean, that just sort of shows you even more, not just in your local environment, but wherever you're traveling there, look at where you're coming from.
Yeah. So, these things are really interesting. They take a lot of technology power,
Mhm.
right? But why, as a company, would you not want to do this? Because, hello, I'm going to try to maximize my profits. That's the whole argument, right? That's
Yeah,
there. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just maximizing my profits. That's the
absolutely.
argument. But people are freaking out.
Yes, they are. And okay, I think you and I generally agree maximizing profits is a good thing. Absolutely.
I'm a
Uh,
capitalist. Sorry.
I agree. I agree. But so how could this possibly go wrong? And so super interestingly, in 2000, so very long time ago, Amazon did some tests by setting DVD prices differently for different people. Now I don't know the characteristics of how they defined who was going to get different pricing, but they ran this test. And I imagine because in 2000 there were many fewer consumers on Amazon. They were comparing
True.
notes on Reddit, and they found out very fast, and boy were they mad. They were hopping mad and told the world. It was just a huge trust fallout. Now in a quiet corner of Reddit, did the whole world didn't find out, and not the whole world wasn't using Amazon, or maybe didn't even know what it was at the time, so maybe it wasn't as big a deal, but it did cause a massive loss of trust with a very loyal user base. And Amazon claimed it was just a pricing error, a price testing error. I do believe that they were testing pricing, and it was an error. I just don't think it was in the order that they said it was. Uh, so there was huge trust fallout. Tinder, it turns out, is charging older users more money for the same premium service than younger users because they believe they have more discretionary income, which is causing age discrimination lawsuits and forcing a change there. And then we all know about Uber's surge pricing, right? We know about that, but what I didn't know was that Uber is also looking at our riders to determine how much we might be willing to pay for that ride. So our Chicago example, it knows my patterns as a rider, and it knows that I might pay different amounts in different situations for that ride. But super interesting. What I didn't know is that they may do the same to drivers. And I think you dug into that one a little bit.
And that's actually a real issue for me. So like
Yeah.
I'll be honest, as a consumer, I'm kind of the buyer beware type of individual. You can do your own research. You can put a VPN on your phone to try to avoid it. You can log in and log out, log in, log out. I know people who purposely put stuff in their cart and then leave it there and go shop the next day because they're
Mhm.
looking for that coupon that's there. So there's some activity associated
Right.
with it to try to get the discounts that are there. If that is what is valuable for your time, your money, that's how you save money and that's worth your effort, great, go
Yeah.
for it. I have a much more personalized problem when you're doing it on the other side, when you're talking about it not just being on the consumer side, but rather on the provider side, when you're talking
Right.
about your employee side. And so that's what Uber is potentially doing here on the driver side, which if you are using the same type of information, you're also saying, okay, how much are my drivers willing to accept? How little are they willing to accept for me to allow them to take this drive? Right.
Yeah.
And that feels really scummy because the individuals who are driving Uber are often in desperate need of the money. That's why they're doing this on top of their normal jobs. They're doing it nights and weekends and overnight. These people are oftentimes really desperate for funds, which means they're also probably willing to take less than what they
Right.
should be taking, and they have
Agreed.
no power to really control it.
Yes. I imagine, so we're going to talk in a bit about legislation. I imagine we're going to see some legislation relatively quickly around that provider pricing. That's the one that really worries me. Yeah, you can choose to walk in Chicago, and it's not comfortable, but you have choices there. But when you're trying to make an income, that's where I think that we're going to see some more protections coming for individuals. But um, so when we look at the example of Pamela and Kelsey standing in the store with their phone saying one price and the price on the shelf saying another, that's got to be frustrating. And so, first of all, Honey told us, Dr. Honey Zimmerman told us that she's had the same experience, and you just take the phone to the cash register and they will change the price for you. And it sounds like most stores they'll do that, which is awesome. So, but unfortunately, if you're a loyal customer, it feels like you're having to jump through hoops to get that. And I feel like that hurts loyalty. And so, when we as a company, we might be tempted to put different prices on things if we force our loyal consumers, the ones who want to buy from us, to jump through hoops to get that low price. It seems to me that you're going to erode the trust and end up with a much better chance of them going to Hobby Lobby or whatever your local craft hobby store is, or maybe just Amazon. Because if I'm angry in the store, I can just click buy on Amazon.
Okay, so here's my question. If you're willing to match it and you're dealing with these hoops, et cetera, is it that the person is going to get mad, or are they going to feel really good because their actions is now
Mm,
saving them money, and you
yeah,
as a store are facilitating that by agreeing? Because a lot of places have price matching. Some of them
right.
have price matching plus, right? Which is whatever the lowest price is, I'll give you another 5% so that you stay with us. So my effort, my work actually rewards me. It's not that I am being punished, it's that I'm
Right.
being rewarded. There's two different coins of the exact same argument there.
Yeah.
And the question, I don't know. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know which way most people feel, but I have a feeling that the people who are implementing this do.
They do. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I'll say that I don't want to spend a lot of time haggling. That I don't like any of that. Just tell me what the price is so I can pay the price. And so I just said that out loud, and now all my prices are going to go up. But
Yeah, don't worry, don't worry.
that's why I shop at CarMax. That literally, like, because that it is the price. I don't have to do all that silliness. Just tell me how much I have to pay.
Cindy, I love you so much because I am the exact same way. I hate haggling. I hate asking for a discount. Like I'm just like, I'll just pay it. Please just leave me alone and I will pay it, right? Which makes me terrible in haggling cultures when I've gone out of the country where there is a lot of
Yeah.
haggling involved. Like I'm terrible about it. I'm embarrassed. I leave my husband. I'm like, this is what I want, and I leave. And then my
Yes.
husband goes in and has a great time and always pays significantly less. I've had him do it with my cars. I've had him do all of that jazz. It's been a blast to
Yeah.
find out, because he gets this, runner's high or whatever from being like, I saved an extra 4%. I've had a couple of necklaces and jewelry pieces that he's like, I wasn't actually planning on buying it, but after I managed to knock it down so far, I went ahead and bought it. I'm like, oh, thank you. I love the necklace.
So that's
No,
going to be that. So that willingness to negotiate is definitely in our profiles somewhere in the big data. So Jamie, what we kind of touched on it a little bit, regulation. I'm sure the EU is far ahead of us, as they always are in these types of things. So what are you seeing on the regulation front?
they are ahead of us. So it's kind of a different dynamic associated with it. So let's talk about how this works, right? In order for us to have personalized pricing, that means that the companies are harvesting our information, our location, our behavior patterns, how we're using it, and they're grabbing our data. So what it ends up becoming is almost a privacy argument or a discrimination argument associated with it. So if we go over to the EU, you've got the General Data Protection Regulations, GDPR, which are much more significant over there than they are over here. And because they actually have a lot of rules, you have to log into all the cookies over there. They have to tell you what's going on. You have to be able to opt out everywhere. Over in the EU for that protection of your data, they have a very low, much higher bar against using these dynamic pricing. If you do use data to change the pricing, you actually have to explain that that's going to be true, that you're receiving a different price. Now, that's because what they're doing is they are regulating the inputs on this material. Okay. The United States is taking a completely different approach. Okay. They are potentially looking at the outputs associated with it. So where we have seen some law, it is about the output, the discrimination associated with it, the violation of privacy, right? That is a result of the output of having gotten those prices. It's hodgepodge. It's a lot of state level stuff, which means it's different in every state. It is not there. So for the most part, we're still in the Wild West.
Right.
And the EU has kind of figured it out.
Yes. So I think New York just passed a law that they have to disclose when they do personalized pricing. I think it just passed. And there is some proposed federal legislation, but I don't know that that's going to happen anytime soon. So I think if we go back to how do we look at this from a company perspective? We're trying not to destroy the trust and the loyalty that we've built, because trust is an economic asset for us. So how do we use this most effectively as an organization? And I think we use it best when it's a discount, right? So when it's not an increase in price, but when it's a discount that's not a penalty, it clearly explains why you're getting the discount. So let's go back to the cart. You're getting a discount because you left your cart full of stuff, and we want you to come buy it. And it feels like a reward that we value you as a customer. I'm sure I've gotten that email. So,
several times.
Yeah. And then of course the other one, which I have not subscribed to, which is the auto discounts for driving the speed limit. But that seems like a good use, and apparently it's been quite effective.
That one is really interesting, right? Get a little tracker, plug it into your car, right? And State Farm or Allstate will track how you drive, and if you drive safely, they're going to give you a discount on their insurance, right? That's a great. It's personalized pricing. It's based off of your particular behavior, and nobody seems to have an issue with it. You choose to opt out, and other people choose to opt in. That's there.
I think it's great.
But
so choice.
But here's the difference though. There's choice there, right?
Right.
We are choosing whether it's there. And a lot of these situations, we're not given that choice.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that there's a clear lesson for us. So like if we just kind of think through all the scenarios we've discussed. If we look at consumers, there, if pricing feels inconsistent, and that's like my pattern watching the price go up with the airline tickets, that was a disturbing trend that I saw, right? So it frustrated me. It happens with all airlines. So, but if it feels inconsistent, it's probably inconsistent. You should trust your gut. And there are tools. There are VPNs. There's price matching. There's, if you are a saver and a haggler and a discount hunter, first of all, I want to go shopping with you if I have to, or just go shopping for me. I'll pay you for that. And then second, use your tools, and I mean, fight back against the companies. But what do you think for managers and leaders that their key takeaway is?
A couple of things I would say. Number one, be careful. If you choose to go ahead and do some sort of personalized or even dynamic pricing, that's a little bit less risky. You need to recognize that you are taking a risk associated with it. You need to couch it in terminology of a reward rather than just leaving it blank, right?
And it can't be a reward for being younger.
It can't. It better not be a discrimination award. Yeah,
exactly.
Because you're gonna have right. That's there. So, and explain to customers like why they're paying differently for what's going on, and that will create much lower backlash, because this is the world of social media, right? If I have it, I can just do a quick screenshot, post it on Amazon or Facebook, and cause issues. The dynamic pricing, the location pricing. McDonald's had this issue, right? Do you remember like the $15 or $30 Big Mac fiasco they had about a year and a half ago? Somebody had ordered lots of specializations and blah, 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 but it still ended up being a Big Mac meal that cost someone like $25. A screenshot caused so many issues at McDonald's for it. And part of it was dynamic pricing. It was a location that was more expensive already, and it's a franchisee, so there's a little bit less ability to control it across all McDonald's, but it's a huge risk. You potentially can maximize your profits, but you could also shoot yourself in the foot.
My parents gave me some great advice when I was a kid. They said, are you comfortable with your actions being put on the front cover of the newspaper? And so maybe the local equivalent is streamed on TikTok. Today's
there
equivalent.
We go.
Anyway,
I think that might be true, right?
Yeah, agreed. And I think as long as we're thinking about personalized pricing as organizations, we're going to go all the way back to Warren Buffett. Think long term, right? Think long term relationships, not short term boosts. And is this truly in the benefit of the customer? So if I offer you that discount, is it really truly so that you'll buy, or am I really just trying to stick it to my customers who can pay more? I mean, are we causing more challenges for ourselves long term? I think that's really important to keep in mind.
And I think people also need to recognize, if you're a consumer, let's talk a little bit, because we kind of skipped over it. There are some really interesting facts associated with this personalized pricing. According to research, the difference between a fair market price, that kind of universal price, 60% of people actually pay less money using this type of personalized pricing. They're being incentivized with discounts in order to deal with it. But for companies, they end up making more money overall. Why? Because while they are getting less margin per item on more than half the people, they are selling at a higher volume. So they're making it up and making more profit. So it ends up being what could be looked at as a win-win if you're a part of that 60%, right? Now, the other 40%, there's all of your marketing risk, right?
Right. Yeah. I agree. So it's not all bad. I think we can absolutely say it's not all bad. There probably will be some protections put in place just to make sure that the few bad apples out there don't ruin it for the rest of us. So
the real question is, can we charge different prices? Maybe it should actually be, should we charge different prices?
Yeah. And if your pricing strategy depends on customers not noticing, that is a terrible strategy.
Because if people feel like they're getting played, they don't just leave, they tell everyone. All right, that's it for this episode. Tell us your questions that you have about decisions that leaders are making today. Leave them in the comments. But until next time, Keep your spreadsheets handy and your coffee strong.